What's up, everyone? George Balekji here with Travis Thomas. Welcome into Foxborough Rush. Special bye-week edition for the Patriots. Trav, how you feeling today, my man?
I'm feeling good, man. You know I love a good Foxborough Rush. Oh, what a rush. I'm fired up, ready to go, even though it's a bye week. But I feel like, George, we didn't stress. You know, it was nice. Having a Sunday without stress and dealing with calling out Gerard Mayo.
Because the Patriots didn't play.
Yeah, it was nice.
So, as Trav likes to say, take you behind the curtain.
Yeah.
We all watch all the games on Sunday.
That's right.
With the Patriots game, of course, I get the big screen. We'll have Red Zone on.
Yep.
And this Sunday, it was like, I think when 4 o'clock rolled around, Trav, I looked at our producer, Ethan, and I go, this was my favorite Sunday of the season.
Yeah.
And it's because we just hung out,
relaxing.
Talked ball,
yeah.
College football playoff seeding, Bill Belichick to UNC.
Yeah.
But then it hit me, because I didn't watch bad football for 3 hours. So thank you to the Patriots for having a bye week. Right after the holiday season, too, as we ramp up for Christmas and everything. It was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. You know what it was, George? Therapeutic.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice reset,
recharge.
Healing.
It was healing.
Imagine what that bye week feels like for the players. They just got to get away from it all now. 4 weeks left. So we will do a bye week team check-in as they have 4 games left on the season.
Yeah.
We'll do some expectations we want to see from players, coaches, who name it, over the final 4 games as well. Sean McGuire will stop by for that. And, of course, we'll talk a little bit about Bill Belichick and possibly coaching UNC. All that and more right here on Foxborough Rush. So let's get into the bye week check-in for the Patriots.
Okay.
So, as we know, just a 3-win team. Right now, with the top 3 pick, thank you to how some cards fell their certain ways.
Yeah.
Jaguars beating the Titans, most importantly, on Sunday. But this is something where also you think about, like, if Gerard Mayo didn't do such a good job of stealing headlines himself, we would have been speaking about this earlier. But Albert Breer, a while back, reported that ownership is resigned to the state of the team and losses. So resigned as in they just accepted the reality. The team is bad. This is how it is, and this is a multi-year rebuild.
Yeah.
But when you hear that, Trav, what goes through your mind of the Krafts sitting up in their suite? We've seen them frustrated after that Dolphins loss we saw.
Yeah.
Frustrated after the Colts loss, but they're just resigned. They're like, this is the state of the team, I suppose, as they look down from the suite.
What are they supposed to do? You don't have a choice. What are you going to do? Is the team supposed to turn it around these last 4-5 games? Please. You don't have a damn choice. Of course you're resigned to, this is a rough season. Yeah, no Shaq. What are you going to do? Are you that, delusional that you think your team's going to win out the rest of the way? That ain't happening. So we all knew what it was coming into the season, George. Hell. So we knew this was going to be a rebuild. Mm-hmm. We knew this team was going to stink. What we were looking for were traits, were certain things that we could put our arms around and we could say, hey, the future of the Patriots looks good because of X, Y, and Z. What we got instead this season was we can put our arms around our franchise quarterback and a franchise cornerback in Christian Gonzalez.
Yep, 2 players. That's it.
That's it. Outside of that, that's it. And so I would assume, ownership thought that there would be more things that we could put our arms around. Maybe they do. Maybe they think Gerard Mayo is still the guy, and I know we'll get to him. But, what did they think? I just don't understand. Coming into the season, we all knew. And so when you hear, they're just resigned to the fact that this was a tough season. Really? I'm more, and you and I have talked about this on the show, I'm more concerned with the meddling aspect of things.
Yeah.
Or right now it feels like the perception of meddling. I don't know if it is truly, but when I hear Gerard Mayo say out of his own mouth, he sits down. What was the word, George? A debrief after each game?
Every game. Wins, losses, debrief. Very detailed, very pointed questions.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing? I don't even do that with my kids about school. How was school? Good. What'd you do? This. Great. All right. Beat it. Or if they get in trouble, we have that conversation. Yeah. But, come on. This is hand-holding stuff. That's meddling from ownership. Yes. That's a concern to me.
Yeah.
And I would think and I would hope that after this season that they've been resigned to, we stink, maybe they move on from this coaching staff. They get an experienced staff, which I think they should have done to begin with. Mm-hmm. They spend some money on said staff, and then they back the hell off, and they let the football people run the football operations instead of this kumbaya, all this inexperience. So we're going to show you how to do this and hold your hand.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big boy stuff in the NFL. You need to hire the big boys.
They won't do that, though. Now, I agree with you. That is alarming after every single game doing that debrief with Gerard
It's crazy,
Mayo.
George.
I understand you have a conversation.
Sure.
But a full-on debrief breaking down certain decisions where he goes, they ask the same questions as the fans.
Right.
Which Robert Krafts always said, I'm not an owner, I'm a fan first, all his stories going back.
Yeah.
But think about it in the context of, and Gerard Mayo wants to compare himself to, and I will just draw the comparison of, what if the Fords were doing that with Dan Campbell after every loss and the 13 losses he had in his first year as a head coach?
Good point.
And when they go, why did you go for fourth down there? Punt it, kick it,
Yeah.
But that's Dan Campbell and his DNA.
Yeah.
And that's why they are top 6 right now in fourth down conversion rate.
Yep.
Because that's what the Lions do. He established that part of the culture. Where there is a point you have to let the football people make those football decisions.
That's right.
But the Krafts won't do that. Now, go back to the prior head coach, and the pendulum was too far to one side. Where
That's
Bill
right.
Belichick did everything.
Yes.
And then, as Robert Kraft said, there should have been more checks and balances. We saw that after the hiring and the failed season of the Patricia Joe Judge offensive experiment.
That's right.
They put out a press release saying they are in talks of an extension with Gerard Mayo, and that they also are interviewing Bill O'Brien as offensive coordinator. That's them showing, and they go to Bill, bring in Bill O'Brien, bring in an offensive mind. That's them being more hands-on. And that's fine, because ownership to that point should step in, because, hey, you're about to wreck a first-round quarterback who's Pro Bowl alternate caliber. Not the best, but you're about to do that, which he did.
Sure.
And keep in mind, Bill Belichick, even after he hired Bill O'Brien, the only assistant coach he let Bill O'Brien bring in was his assistant tight end coach. It's not good.
No.
So there has to be that part of owners making decisions. But yes, like the debriefs after every single game.
That's insane.
And for them, the feeling of resignation. Look, this was always going to be a 3-year rebuild, Travis. I said it to you.
You did.
I didn't think year one would be this bad. Not wins and losses, just a lack of growth,
Yes.
the lack of progress, and the lack of competency that we see on the field.
Yes.
But for Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft, they also have to live with the decision that they handpicked the successor of their head coach.
Bingo.
And they put it in his contract. They chose to keep Elliott Wolf around. Elliott Wolf, who's been with the team since 2020. And excluding this last draft, 40 players were drafted while he was associated with the Patriots front office. 22 of those players I could confidently say were busts. 11 out of the 40 are contributors on the team. So more than 50% are busts. 11 are contributors, all on different levels. Out of draft picks, the drafts have been terrible, and it goes back way before for what Bill Belichick was doing. But you're the ones that chose to pick your head coach. You're the ones that chose to pick your GM, not pick a GM.
That's right.
And then pick a head coach to go with him. And then if you're going to be hands-on and make a Bill Belichick hire a Bill O'Brien, why didn't you push harder for Gerard Mayo to have a good coaching staff? Now, keep in mind, Nick Caley interviewed for the Patriots offensive coordinator job where he would have been the play caller. He chose to stay in Los Angeles with Sean McVay.
You went way back.
Yeah. But
Kurt Warner is quarterback.
he saw that and he's like, I don't want to be here for this. Now,
Right.
is it a sign of how meddling the ownership can be? Is it the overall situation?
Right.
I think Nick Caley made the right call for the trajectory of his career of keep being around Sean McVay, learn from Sean McVay.
Yes.
You're with the Rams.
Yes.
In a much further spot than the Patriots. But if you're going to meddle, get something better than a Ben McAdoo, like you said.
Yeah.
To be like the experienced guy on the staff to help guide him. And then you even go back. It's what the Krafts are. They're resigned right now. They have no feeling. They're just accepting the team's bad. Why is the team bad? Because of the head coach you picked.
Bingo.
Because of the culture that is set. And also because you didn't do much with your front office. You re-racked and ran back.
Yes, you did.
Macro and Elliott Wolf, who have been failures in this front office since they've been a part of the New England Patriots front office.
Retreads.
You kept in Evan Rothstein as an in-game analyst. You kept in Mike Pellegrino, who's a good cornerback coach on staff. But like the guys we see that are still there from the Belichick time, you know why? Because their contracts are aligned with Bill Belichick. And their contracts don't run out until 2025. So they didn't want to fire guys, pay them, and then pay a whole new staff. Why did you do that? As Gerard Mayo always says, there's all these evaluations, Travis.
Yeah.
And then they still trot out on Thursday Night Football, talking to Taylor Rooks on the sideline to say, I handpicked Gerard Mayo 5 years ago. That was after they beat the Bengals, lost to the Seahawks in overtime, and got ran all over by the San Francisco 49ers, and right before they got their doors blown off in the only game the Jets looked dominant all season long. Now you're stuck with the guy you said you handpicked 5 years ago. So they're resigned.
No, you're not.
But if you're resigned, go look in the mirror, just not on the field if you're the Krafts.
You're not stuck. By the way, I just looked this up. We both know the definition, but I wanted the official one so I could say what I'm going to say. Here's the definition of resign, right? Feeling or showing acceptance that something unwanted or unpleasant will happen and cannot be changed.
Yep.
It can be changed.
Bingo.
It can.
Yep.
So and we know this in the nature of what we do, when quotes get out, right? Albert Breer, who's like legit, okay? Mm-hmm. When he says ownership is resigned to the state of the team and losses, they put that out. They said that to Breer, right?
Yeah.
That word is unique to me that they picked that, because you're right there suggesting pretty much what you just said. We're resigned to this season, and we're going to stick with this. You're not stuck. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. I know we're going to talk about the coaching staff, but, like, you can make changes. You own the team. And it's just about the ego. It's just about, we handpicked this guy. We're going to stick with him hell or high water. Okay, well, welcome to hell and high water, my friend, because if you feel as though you're stuck with Gerard Mayo, you're going to be resigned next year too. Like, he's in over his skis. Can he improve? Sure. Can he improve that much, leaps and bounds, where you go from whatever the hell you end up wins-wise this season? Let's say you have a good offseason, okay? You and I both think they will, and you have improved the roster, right? And then you come in the next season. Do you trust this man to develop the talent you've acquired? Do you trust this man to put whatever talent you bring in here in the offseason, George? Do you trust this man to cultivate and to craft that? I don't, but clearly this ownership group does, specifically to Gerard Mayo. We'll see. I just don't like the word we're resigned to for anything, because you can change it. Resigned to, you're suggesting we're stuck with this. And no, you're not.
I know you're used to using the term ownership group, especially a guy that covered a lot of football in D.C. and Baltimore. These owners, there isn't 8 people, 11 people sitting around a conference room table with different stakes and different percentages. There's 2 people that make these decisions. It's Robert Kraft and it's Jonathan Kraft.
Yep.
So even more importantly, like, this is all on them.
Yep.
So as much as we are at Gerard Mayo, and rightfully so, I mean, the football team doesn't look good. As much as we are on a DeMarcus Covington, as much as we are on some of the players, rightfully so, we need to be on the ownership as well. Mm-hmm. Because this is the ownership. Also, too, when you bake into Gerard Mayo's contract that you will be the successor, that's going to piss off Bill Belichick. Mm-hmm. And like the Seth Wickersham reports that came out of when they'd be in meetings and Belichick was still the head coach, and all the assistants feeling the failure of this season are sitting there tense, nervous. Gerard Mayo's like swinging a baseball bat in the background because he knows he's the chosen son. Literally, that was reported by Seth Wickersham at ESPN. Crazy. Everyone's sitting there, sweat dripping down their foreheads, Belichick laying into them, and Gerard Mayo just not caring and not listening. He's like, this is my job no matter what.
Wow.
Hey, Gerard, a year early, bud. But that takes away a year of mentorship that Bill Belichick could have given Gerard Mayo. I mean, Belichick went to Gerard, wanted him on the staff. It's not like the Krafts forced Gerard Mayo on Belichick's coaching staff. And this is a guy that was brought up as an assistant coach under him. But it's anything but good. When you look at it, Gerard Mayo, Alex Van Pelt, DeMarcus Covington, that's the brain trust of the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. I know where you stand, but what do you think of this coaching staff moving forward? I want to give you, we normally, bring it up and talk in other topics like, if you're resigned, to your point, Trav, you said it, you can change this.
Well,
and you can change it by hiring a Mike Vrabel, a Brian Dable.
Yeah, some experience.
Other people that are out there.
Sure. It's funny. I'm laughing because you say, well, I know where you stand. You're damn right you do. In fact, even the way you set the question up, hey, Mayo, Covington, Van Pelt, the brain trust. I don't see a ton of brain, and I damn sure don't trust any of them. Okay? Now, As I look at Alex Van Pelt, he's someone I have in recent weeks backed off a bit because I have started to see evolution, growth, a little bit of trickeration, a little bit of motion. Antonio Gibson showed up. I've only been screaming for him all year. So, I am seeing some improvements there, and I know everyone gives Alex Van Pelt all the credit in the world for developing Drake May, right? I question that a bit. I feel like there should be more hands in that pot, but let's go benefit of the doubt. Everyone's saying it and giving him the credit, so damn it, I'll give him the credit. So Alex Van Pelt is someone who I feel at least comfortable with as my play caller, clearly for now.
Yeah.
And if you were to tell me that he is retained and he is the offensive coordinator again next year for Gerard Mayo, I could see a world in which Gerard Mayo, if things go bad and he gets fired in season, let's say, Alex Van Pelt makes sense to be an interim head coach. Okay, that's where I'm at with this. Not a real head coach, not a go out and hire this man to be your head coach, but an interim. I feel like I could see that happening. I don't know what DeMarcus Covington is even still doing here. I'm just going to keep it real. I mean, I think he should have been fired. This defense is regressing. This defense continuously gasses out at the end of tight games that they have the opportunity to win. And there is no creativity in schematically dialing up a pass rush. I do understand right now, and I know the draft is coming eventually, and you may need some horses to rush the passer. I get it. But there are plenty of teams in the history of this league who don't necessarily have dynamic superstars at the defensive ends position, and they still dial up pressure. I mean, hell, we talk about this team all the time. The Detroit Lions lose their best defensive player, who happens to be one of the best young pass rushers in the G-damn league. And their defensive coordinator, who will get a head coaching job, and Aaron Glenn, is dialing up masterful schemes to bring pressure to opposing quarterbacks. And the Detroit Lions, despite losing that young stud on defense in Aiden Hutchinson, is still rocking and rolling. And by the way, they have injuries all across that defense. I'm just talking about pass rush, okay, and schematics. So, and there's countless teams like that around this league. Minnesota Vikings, another one. Brian Flores, right? So my point being, DeMarcus Covington, what are you doing here still? You're not – the defense is going backwards.
Yeah.
So fire him, and then Gerard Mayo, you would think, would put his chest out and say, you know what? I'll call the damn defensive plays. That's what I would think would happen. None of that's happening, okay? So Mayo and Covington I have on the same get their ass out of here list. And then maybe I stomach Van Pelt as my offensive coordinator. But honestly, if you're getting rid of Mayo, I think all of them should go. I haven't been impressed enough to keep any of them.
The one I would retain would be the Alex Van Pelt.
I at least get it.
Even if you bring in an offensive-minded coach like Brian Dable, and Brian Dable goes, you know what, Alex, I'm calling the plays. I'm doing my system, right?
Yep.
Let's say in this hypothetical that they fired Gerard Mayo.
Right.
But what you're doing, developing them, keep doing it. And if Alex Van Pelt is smart, he would stick around for that.
Yes.
You're still offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Your success is tied to Drake May.
Yep.
And guess what? With Brian Dable, if he takes off like this,
you get
then
a
Alex
job.
Van Pelt, you're going to get a better job.
Absolutely.
You'd be up for a head coach. The success of Drake May fully coincides with how long Alex Van Pelt is in New England and what Alex Van Pelt's next step is. But when I think of a Taylor Embry, and Alex, the running backs coach, and Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator, a Scott Peters offensive line coach, I'm fine with those three. But like a Tequan Underwood, a Tyler Hughes, the wide receiver coaches, like the guys that just, especially Tyler Hughes, first-time receiving coach in the NFL, clearly has no grip on that room. Taekwon Underwood, an assistant receivers coach, again, like I would clean house in that room.
Sure.
When it comes to, I know how to keep Scott Peters. Get a better assistant offensive line. Ben McAdoo, sure, you can stick around. You have experience. Get someone with actual head coaching experience. Yeah. Trav, I don't think there is any visit to firing Gerard Mayo, though, unless it's awful next season until the end of year 2. An actual consideration to part ways with them. I think the Krafts will give him 2 full years. To me, it was 3, but year 1's been terrible. I think they give him 2 full years.
Yeah.
And Travis, the only argument I can ever give you on why I would bring him back after this season is because the owner claims that he handpicked him 5 years ago. That's it.
I know.
That's all I can give you. But I love your objective approach to it.
Yeah.
Because I agree. I'm bringing you the subjectivity of thinking like the Krafts.
Sure.
And if the best argument I can give you is because I handpicked him, is someone says I handpicked him 5 years ago, that's not a good argument, T. I'll own it myself.
Yeah, of course. Look, I'll be honest. I've come around to seeing things your way in the sense that it won't happen.
Okay.
And they've already said, Gerard Mayo's safe. Well, that's a mistake too, because I just keep harping back to why I believe he should be fired is because I think this team's going to lose out, George. I told you that.
Yeah.
That Colts game before this bye week.
Last one.
That was the last one, and they better win it. And what happened? Not only did they not win it, they lost it in the same way they've lost a lot of close games this season where the defense let them down in the end. And I'm telling you, this team's going to lose out, okay? And the defense regressed, but you are going to retain Gerard Mayo. It is a recipe for disaster for year 2, to your point.
Yep.
And also, I just don't believe in this league. I don't care if you handpicked him from birth. I don't care if he came out of the womb and you said, this guy's the chosen one for my franchise. He's a savior. If you lose to end a season as a first-time head coach, most coaches who survive this scenario, that last month they get hot.
Yeah.
A light bulb goes off. They win. I'm just making this up. They win 4 out of their last 5. There's optimism. There's some momentum there.
There's a key moment.
Yeah. And you say, okay.
You can point to and go, that was good.
That was good. We'll keep him.
Yep.
There's something there. Drake May and him can grow together. This dude's doing the opposite, bruh. It's a damn landslide. Listen, I know it hasn't happened yet, right? But in this bald head, I can see the future. This is awful. He will lose out, and you're going to retain him. That's telling me it is your ego, Robert and Jonathan Kraft, George. Thank you. It's both of you guys' ego that keeps this dude, and it's going to run you into the ground next season, too. You can't just watch something happen for an entire season and then expect it to change in the next completely. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. As I said, I'll give Gerard Mayo some credit. Maybe he does get a little bit better. He should. Every coach should get better in the offseason, just like the players. We ask the players to get better. Coaches should get better too. Hold them accountable, right? But how much better are you going to get? I mean, you are literally one of the worst coaches in this league. It's obvious. Mm-hmm. So if you come back a little bit better next season and your team comes back a lot better, which is possible with their cap space, with this draft pick. I mean, right now they'd be picking 3rd. Kidding me? That's Travis Hunterville.
Oh,
I'm just saying. So if the team, Drake May's going to be better.
Yeah.
So this team comes back marginally better and your quarterback, I mean, your head coach isn't any better or he's just a skosh better. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. All right. If you're enjoying this conversation, Foxborough Rush airs every Monday with game reactions, Wednesday with Draft Talk, Fridays with Michael Lombardi. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever else you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and you'll be featured. Well, we always bring comments on Foxborough Rush. All right, now he's joining us. He's Sean T. McGuire of Nesson.com, a.k.a. S-Mac, a.k.a. S-Mizzle.
Sean,
appreciate you joining us. Man, how much did you enjoy this Sunday that you didn't have to watch the Patriots?
Oh, man, it's George, I've long said that the best Sunday you could have is when your team wins on Thursday night or their bye week. And it's just, for the Patriots to be off, for us to not have to go through that again and again. It was beautiful.
Cowboys bye week too, or no?
I'm so tuned out on the Cowboys now. That was in a past life, George.
That's called resignation. He is resigned to the outcome of the Cowboys.
That's his fault, George. He should have never been a Cowboys fan. I could have told him that from the jump.
From the get. All right, so let's talk about a little state of the roster and some players we want to see make some progress. So what the Patriots do have moving forward long term, a franchise quarterback, so we see. I mean, he checks all the boxes from just sheer one-season sample size, but we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yes.
They need number 1 receiver. They need 4 out of 5 starting spots on the offensive line. Most importantly, a left tackle.
Yep.
They need linebackers. They need a premier edge rusher. They need deeper room of cornerbacks. They need a deeper wide receiving room.
Yep.
They need safety help
Anything
safety help. Del Pettis is a good piece. And we'll get into the total. If you go through their entire roster, like the blue chips, there's the Christian Gonzalez's and the Drake Mays.
Yep.
I give them 18 players out of a 53-man roster you can move forward and build your team with. And some of those aren't good, like a Jalen Polk, a Javon Baker, a Layden Robinson. But we'll get into that. First, I want to start with the offensive side of the ball. Sean, Trav, you guys are the guests on this one. I'll bring you in first. Sean, who is an offensive player you want to see make a leap over the last 4 games of the season, or just keep doing what they're doing and show that progress you could carry into the offseason?
Yeah, I'm going to go. It's not the sexiest pick. I'm like so tuned out on the wide receivers at this point that I'm not going to go with the wide receiver. I'm going to go with Layden Robinson. And I just think it's one of those you just talked about. They have 4 needs out of 5 players on the offensive line. And, their best player on the offensive line is right guard, Mike Onwenu, obviously. So just to see Layden Robinson come along, we've talked about it a lot. Obviously, he was a right guard in college. But to see him come along, get some snaps at left guard, he played their last game against the Colts. And definitely just a much improved start for him, I thought. And I talked to him a little bit after the game and said, kind of what's your level of comfort? What's that sort of, how do you feel about that? And I'll just kind of read you the quote. He said, I feel like I'm real comfortable, just getting better. Everything is new, but I'm learning it. That's the best part of it. It's a new challenge. And when you're uncomfortable, it forces you to learn something and broaden your horizons. I'm just going to keep getting better. So I thought that was a great way of looking at it. It certainly was not what how Chuck Secorifor answered that same question in the spring. So that's something of note. But yeah, so I think I'm really looking to hit Layden Robinson, and it does have a lot to do with Onwenu, and just with the amount of needs that they have on the offensive line. If Layden Robinson can come along and really look like a left guard of the future, really, I think that solves a key position on that offensive line.
Especially, again, out of all the guys you look starting up front, you'd bring one back, maybe 1 or 2 others would be on rosters. And Layden Robinson, started at right guard the first 4 weeks of the season, was benched, would come back in spot starts, would get benched sometimes after returning to lineup. Then all of a sudden, week 13 gets thrust in a left guard spot. I love that you point that out of making that flip. But that's where how can this offensive line, if Layden Robinson can be serviceable, if Mike Onwenu can get back to being Mike Onwenu, if Cole Strange possibly works out at center, we'll see, or David Andrews returns, but I don't know how much he has left in the tank, then via free agency / draft, you figure out left and right tackle spot.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that's what's crucial. And they could explore free agency, like a Trey Harris from Kansas City to be a left guard. And then you figure out maybe Layden Robinson right guard, Mike Onwenu right tackle. There's so much flexibility. Yeah, you're right. It's not the sexiest, but it's a good spot to look at. I'm the same with Mike Onwenu. But Trav, what about for you, a player on offense you want to see over the last 4 weeks of the season?
As always, I'm on the same page as S. Measy. He says he's checked out of wide receivers, and I completely understand why. How the hell could you not?
Yep.
But that's exactly where I'm going, and I'm going Jalen Polk because, look, I'm going to give you a slight pass because you are a rookie. At the same time, on this staff, I think he missed a really big opportunity, guys. And I said this on draft night. I remember George saying, this is a bit of a reach for this guy. You could have probably got him later than what they did. Mm-hmm. And I remember my rebuttal to George at that time was, maybe, but if I'm the kid, I am salivating at the opportunity to play for the Patriots, particularly when Drake May gets in. At that time, we didn't know when, right? But particularly when Drake May gets in, because I can grow with that quarterback. And these other wide receivers around me in this room suck, outside of Pop Douglas. So I can shine in this. And he has missed an opportunity because he did nothing, okay? So what I want to see with this guy, with the rest of the games left, can you matter at all? I have to imagine, even though I spent the segment before you got here, S. Mizzle, calling this coaching staff a bunch of morons, I have to imagine that this coaching staff, now with the handful of games left, we'll put him in position to play and get opportunities, and we'll draw some things up, and we'll give you some targets. Go cook, or can you not? So that's what I'm looking to see from Polk this season. 12 catches, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's awful.
That's a half of football for a really good wide receiver, okay? You suck, kid. So the rest of the way out, can you matter? Can you show me that you even exist?
Yeah.
If he can do that, I'll feel a little bit better moving into next season. If he's going to do what he's done all season, which is nothing, then I can't go in the next season feeling good about him and Javon Baker, who's also done nothing.
Yep.
It's wasted draft picks. It's wasted roster spots. And how long have we sat around here in this town and waited for a Tyquan Thornton or waited for – you're waiting for nothing, bro. So you got to show me something. And by the way, when your team sucks this bad, gentlemen, you are playing for pride. I know we laugh at that cliche, but it's true. So I just want to see if this Jalen Polk kid has any fight, has any dog in him. That's what I'm looking for the rest of the way.
And you were right. Like, yes, I had that reaction. They trade back. It's even more damning that the Chargers took a Ladd McConkey.
Right.
Now, and it's a thing of like, well, Ladd and the system with Justin Herbert, Ladd was more pro-ready coming out of Georgia.
Yeah.
You could say Jalen Polk has a higher ceiling. Jalen Polk's not even a usable wide receiver.
Right.
Ladd McConkey, heading into week 14, the 3 weeks prior, was second in the NFL with receiving yards at 323 on 21 catches. Patriots wide receivers over the same span. Wide receivers, 28 catches, 367 yards. Jalen Polk, over that same span, just 3 targets. That's all he's gotten. And it's a guy that's still out there running the wrong routes, not fully running his routes even. Like, great Austin Hooper catch we saw against the Colts. Jalen Polk needed to keep running his route into the corner of the end zone or possibly sail across the back. Instead, he settled. And I'm like, is that as Drake May says it, is that the for love of the game route? But he settles and turns around. Kid, the ball's not coming your way. Like, Drake, unbelievable touch and throw by Drake May. Unbelievable catch by Austin Hooper, who's been absolute nails. But Jalen Polk himself could have blown up such a positive play that puts him on the doorstep of scoring. And that's Jalen Polk's just been a net negative, as is Javon Baker. And his kick returns haven't been good, and he can't see the field. And that's what's tough at that spot where you trade back, could have had a Ladd McConkey, or at that part at 37, you could have gotten a right tackle, a good, if not even a left tackle on the spot, a good right tackle that maybe could be starting for you now.
That's right.
Instead of DeMontre Jacobs. My offensive player to watch is Mike Onwenu. I said it before, but it is just, can you continue to be solid? Can you continue to be good? And just be the one anchor in this offensive line that they have, the one positive note. You're not going to get it from Vidarian Lowe, definitely not DeMontre Jacobs. I'm interested out of the bye what happens with Cole Strange if he slots in at center. That would be another player to watch. But with the wide receivers, I think Pop Douglas is what he is. Running backs, I think Ramondre Stevenson is what he is, which is good. Drake May, not worried about him. Let's just keep seeing him make leaps and cut down on turnovers, I suppose, but he's awesome. This offensive line, what is good? What is consistent? What can you look at and be positive about? Because even Mike Onwenu in certain spots is claiming he didn't hear adjustments and audibles. Like, you are the vets.
That's
You're
right.
the guy that just got an extension. All the guys that got extensions, Kyle Duggar has looked lost on defense.
Yes.
Mike Onwenu hasn't been his safe self up front. Ramondre Stevenson had the fumbling issues. These guys that gave these contracts too, when they had all that cash to burn, instead they chose to keep extending these guys in their building. They haven't gotten the ROI on that yet. If you're joining this conversation, once again, please remember to check out Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our friend Michael Lombardi joins the show on Fridays. Normally Mondays are game recaps. Wednesdays, always draft previews as well. That is Foxborough Rush. You can watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and you can listen along Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. All right, now to get to defense. Sean, who's a defensive player you're watching over the last 4 weeks?
So I'm going to go with a position group more than a player. I guess it's only 2 players really, but I'm going to go with corners outside of Christian Gonzalez. So specifically Alex Austin and Marcus Jones. I just think during the offseason, we kind of entered the year thinking that the Patriots cornerback group was arguably their deepest on the entire roster. And over the last, especially 6 or 8 last weeks, it's not been good. And, a big part of that is Jonathan Jones taking a step back. Marcus Jones hasn't been great either. And I just think it's, it would be a really big thing for the Patriots to have someone like Alex Austin kind of step in, these last 4 weeks and show that he's, a good second corner, opposite of Christian Gonzalez. He had a really good game against the Colts. And, so maybe it's a little recency bias, but he also spent the majority of the year on IR. So there's not a huge sample size from Alex Austin this year. And I just think, it's like, George, I know you said a ton when you talk about the draft and the corners coming out of the draft, the size and how important the size is. And Alex Austin has it, 6'1", 190.
Bingo.
So he has more of that skill set to guard, those outside wideouts. And I'm not trying to say the Patriots, if Alex Austin plays well, then the Patriots won't need to address or bring in anyone at all. I don't think that's the case. I just think it takes it lessens the priority. If someone like Alex Austin was to come in these last 4 weeks and really play well.
Trav, what about for you?
I went Jabril Peppers.
Again, secondary.
Yeah, but, specifically for him because he's, allegedly your leader. You need him to perform well the rest of the way because he is your leader. And, we know there's a cloud hanging over him off the field that is supposedly going to be resolved in January. Well, week 17 and 18, you're smack dab in January. Yeah. So, it is a distraction. I know people tiptoe around it and, we're just going to let it play out in the court system and all that stuff. Okay, great. But literally, it is a distraction for your team. Okay, so there's no way around that. And so if you're going to be a distraction with what you have going on off the field in our season, it's at the end of the season, but we know what happened when the incident happened. That was smack dab in the middle of the season. And in fact, if you gentlemen remember, when that happened with Peppers, it opened up the floodgates, did it not? We started getting some off-the-field things from everyone else. I don't think that's a coinky-dink when your leader gets in trouble, okay? Yeah. So the rest of the way out, down the stretch, boy, if you have a distraction off the field that you brought during the season as a distraction, you better ball out.
Yeah.
You better ball out. And you better lead. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching him. He's been playing well, so I'm not taking shots here since he's been back. But I need another level. I need him to continue to play well and then go another level, not only on the field but in leadership.
I think in leadership, I think on the field he is what he is, which is a good player. Yeah. At this stage in his career, it'll be tough to see him take another step forward, but to be that guy. I'm going Kyle Duggar. So just like all three of us are looking at the secondary and going, you have a gem. Yeah. You have a cornerstone piece in Christian Gonzalez. You have that good piece up front, 2 good pieces in Christian Barmore and Keon White. You need to add around him. Someone has to help out Christian Gonzalez. Someone has to help out, and that has to be a Jabril Peppers. A Kyle Duggar who, you're dealing with an ankle, but just between the ears, and a guy that's really solid, really good, and I love him as a player, has looked lost on the field. Part of that to me is DeMarcus Covington. What are you doing? What's going on there? The other part of that is Kyle Duggar. Why are you not getting these calls? And it's funny because Kyle Duggar was the guy between him and Christian Gonzalez had the miscommunication on that DK Metcalf long touchdown catch where it was just a blown coverage, and he said it. That's on me not getting the call. Okay, cool. We're 11 weeks later in the season, and you're still getting lost on the field. What's going on there? Sean, I like to point out on Alex Austin, hey, I'm going to say I like the big corners, 6'1". Late round gem the Patriots got to watch for, and for college football fans and Patriots fans, when you're watching the college football playoff, Dalen Everett of Georgia. 2 interceptions against Texas, was fantastic in pass coverage. 6'1", like Alex Austin, 190, 4.3 speed. That's a guy you could get late in the draft and you can progress. But if a guy like an Alex Austin and if a guy like a Jabril Peppers and a Kyle Duggar are stepping up around a Christian Gonzalez, you can wait and take a Dalen Everett later in the draft instead of going with a Will Johnson or a Travis Hunter or a Denzel Burke earlier on in the draft, where if those guys, that's what's important. Can you find the guys in your building? And I alluded to it. I'll bring up the list. I have it. Oh, it's in my notes. Wrong screen. On defense, And tell me if you think I'm missing anyone. Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Keon White. These are guys I would keep and build
that you would
around.
keep. Okay.
Kyle Duggar, Marcus Jones, Anthony Jennings.
Yep.
Jonathan Jones, again, to your point, Trav, I think it's more leadership.
Sure.
Devon Godshaw, Jelani Tavai, and Del Pettis. That's 10 guys on defense. That's not terrible. I would add in Alex Austin. I left in Alex Austin off on that. On offense, Drake May.
Yep.
And then there's a drop-off. Mike Onwenu, Mondre Stevenson, Pop Douglas, David Andrews. We'll see what's happening with him. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. And then you get into like Layden Robinson. They're not going to give up on him or Jalen Polk or Javon Baker.
Drek.
There's like 7 players on offense I'd confidently keep for next season.
Jesus.
One of them is an 2 are offensive linemen. I don't know what David Andrews' future holds.
7? You'd keep 7?
That's 7. That's around 17, 18 players I just named. Out of 53, that's bad. That is bad.
I ain't got that many.
And George, just for your point, you just touched on the David Andrews thing too. I think that's an important one, and I think that's almost why like Layden Robinson needs to play left guard. And if Cole Strange returns, then you got to put him at center, because I really just think it comes down to like you have a much better chance of Layden Robinson being the left guard of the future than you do of Ben Brown being the center of the future. So at that point, why wouldn't you kind of, start taking those steps? You're talking about, making progress and developing, and, we need to see what this team holds at this point. I just think like that's one of those kind of positions that specifically stick out when you're talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's, again, like the gaps that can be filled. If a Cole Strange can step in and be a center, who's your left guard? All right, you just have to find a solution to 2 spots. And can you go out and in free agency, if you get a left tackle, then in the draft, you can get a right tackle, which you'd get later in the draft because it's not as coveted. And then when you have that first round pick, then it allows you, do you do a Travis Hunter, a Tate McMillan? When you have a top 3 pick, the world is your oyster.
Sure.
And because this could be a weak quarterback draft, but you cannot disagree with how good a Cam Ward is or how good a Shedeur Sanders is and teams' willingness to trade up. What makes it interesting is the 2 teams in front of the Patriots as of right now. Raiders are 1, Giants are 2, Patriots are 3. 1, that's Shedeur Sanders. 2, that's Cam Ward. And then all of a sudden the Patriots are just sitting there at 3 and going, all right, I guess we go with Kelvin Banks.
Oh, come on.
Hey, you never know how dumb a team may be. Or not, I don't want to say dumb, but how crazy a team would be. Let's say this. You never know how dumb the Cowboys will be to want to trade up to 3 to take Travis Hunter.
Oh, God. Here we go. Esmeezy, can you talk some sense into this guy that if the Patriots pick 3 and those 2 damn quarterbacks are off the board? Because I agree with him. I think it would be Shedeur and Cam Ward. Please tell this man that the Patriots are not that dumb and they will take Travis Hunter. Can you please tell him that?
I think they're going to go offensive line as well. I did think it was interesting that
it was my favorite episode ever. Trav's leaving.
It's just the Athletics' Dane Brugler, when he was just released his mock draft, he kind of put it about as clear as you could that Travis, I almost call this Travis Thomas.
You should.
That Travis Hunter is the only player that would be a top 10 pick last year. So I thought that was, pretty interesting, but I still do think, if that happens, I think, maybe the Patriots trade back and then they go after, Will Campbell or Kellen Bakes at, 6, 8, 10, one of those different spots. I also think that there's a pretty good chance that the Patriots are not picking 3rd when it all boils down to it, and they could land 1, 2, one of those picks and trade out to one of those teams trying to get a quarterback. So
what is going on?
Thank you, Jay, for zooming out. Listen,
are you going to pour beer in that and drink?
No, I'm going to tell. I'm warning y'all right now. Okay, this is a warning, and I know we on. Put this on tape. Listen, if both of you think for a second that the Patriots pick 3rd and Travis Hunter's on that board and they take a damn offensive lineman or some other moron from some other university, anything that says any name other than Travis Hunter, if you think for a second I won't throw this big-ass shoe at you because I wear 13s. So this going to hurt upside your head. I promise you. I will chuck my shoes at the both of y'all because this will be your fault. You two sitting up here saying, well, if they pick at 3, they could trade back, or maybe they just take it offensive line. No! You are putting this into the ether. You both should be ashamed of yourself. if they pick third and Travis Hunter's on the board and they don't take Travis Hunter, I'm blaming you. And these shoes upside your head is on your hands.
You ready for this, T? I let Sean speak first. I am a grateful host. I always let my guests speak first. If the Patriots sign T. Higgins, draft Travis Hunter third overall. Because you have that wide receiver one, you have a Demario Douglas, get another receiver via free agency and go again with a weapon in the draft. But Travis Hunter slots in perfectly to be a corner opposite of Christian Gonzalez. And then on money downs, third down, the red zone, a kid with his athletic ability, his ridiculous hands and catch radius, it's something the offense needs. Then you bring in a Travis Hunter. Trav?
I don't give a damn if they sign. I want them to sign T. Higgins. Okay?
Sign T. Higgins,
But if
draft
they
Travis Hunter.
don't,
You still want them to draft?
Bro, if
Nope.
they don't, you need them more. What are we talking about?
You know what? In a draft that had Brian Thomas Jr. go 25th overall, if you had a guy like that, you already had a wide receiver one. You take him 3. That's where the Jaguars screwed up, A, by winning. Thank you, Mac Jones. But B, that they had this perfect. But that's where the Jaguars screwed up themselves, where they could have got something they need like that. Patriots don't have that they don't have that luxury, Trav.
I'm chucking shoes. I'm just telling you now. If they don't go him at 3 and they do what y'all talking about, shoe coming at you.
I'm putting PTO in the day right after the draft. That's what I'm doing. And I'm working remote the day of the draft, so I'm not sitting across from you when the Patriots
It's a big shoe,
back.
George.
Size 13s. Hey, Sean, appreciate you joining in. Take the time as always. Enjoy the rest of your bye week, Sean, and the Cowboys.
Yeah, you also enjoy the rest of your bye week.
And don't get any shoes thrown my way. If you're enjoying this, be sure to check out Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat. You can enter the conversation by tweeting at us using the hashtag NessonChat or email thechat@nesson.com. Boston has entered the chat. Is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else podcasts are found. Trav, I had no idea, man.
Smizzle ain't like that Cowboy shot you took at him, George.
I got it.
I like how you that was nice. That was low and away, right over the plate.
Not necessarily a shot at the. I just want to remind everyone how dumb Jerry Jones is. Okay, so talking about poor decision making and leadership.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick to UNC. This first broke like Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And it's gained steam. So from Ali Connolly, who's been like breaking a lot of the news on this out of North Carolina, he tweeted, per sources, I'm told Bill Belichick's negotiations with North Carolina include a guarantee that Stephen Belichick will be named the school's head coach in waiting. His son, Steve Belichick, is currently the defensive coordinator at Washington, who has been doing a phenomenal job
Really
there.
good job.
UNC is open to that guarantee. Discussions are not a bid to gain leverage for NFL offers. Belichick is open to the move. And any potential staff would include Matt Patricia, Ben McDaniels, who's Josh McDaniels' brother, and the passing game coordinator for the Texans. Not awful, I suppose.
Yeah.
As well as sitting college GM who would handle general operations, NIL recruiting. Belichick's preference, from what I'm told, remains a return to the NFL, but the landscape's already considered thin based on the feedback from the league moving to college with a guarantee for his son to overrule waiting on the NFL carousel. Steve Belichick has already been approached about other college head coaching rules. He's taken Washington's defense to 28th this season. They finished 50th last year. They have a top 5 pass defense. And I would say this too, that with you bring in a Bill Belichick, I mean, our friend Michael Lombardi, friend of the show, said he's not interested in Don Shula's record. He's interested in winning championships. If you put together a championship defense with Steve, we know what Bill Belichick can do, paying attention to details. With now 12 teams able to get in, and we saw SMU get into the college football playoff. UNC, you win the ACC, you're in, man. So this is nuts.
This isn't real.
Bill Belichick to UNC. His dad coached at UNC back in the 50s, so we need that ridiculous historic connection for Bill Belichick to be serious about this job.
George, you know damn well this isn't real. And look, Belichick's the GOAT, so obviously he can coach anything. It doesn't matter. Pop Warner, high school, college, whatever. But that's not what this is about. I think this is twofold. I think ego leads the way here. I think the way things ended in New England, the job interview cycle he went on, particularly with the Falcons, right? They went a different direction. I'm sure that hurt. And we heard that he wanted power, right? And that was the difference. The Falcons said, we're going to go Raheem Morris. He's going to do what the hell we say, and he's happy for another chance. And we're not going to give you power because we saw what you did up north with that, right? Running the Patriots into the ground, which he did. So I think this is ego. I think this is him sort of flexing his muscle. Yeah, my son, I want it in writing. Right? Like, you can almost hear it. Like, I want it almost like what you did with the Drake stuff. Like, I want a guarantee that my son will take like, this is ego, bro. Now, as far as the real job, right? I still, in one breath, when I say this is the GOAT and he could coach anything, this is not the best era for Bill Belichick to get into college football between NIL and transfer portal, and when you know what hits the fan, these kids leave. Okay, you know the old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets tougher. That doesn't happen anymore, not in college sports. So it's not a great fit for Bill. This was about my son, my staff, power, and he wanted to flex his muscle. This was ego. This isn't a real thing. This isn't going to happen.
Look, they just fired Mac Brown, who's 73.
That's right.
You're going to bring in Bill Belichick, who's 72.
That's right.
You know what UNC athletic director Bubba Cunningham is doing? He's going past the beer, past the whiskey, past the tequila.
What's he doing?
And he's going in Wine Emporium to the aged whites section. Not even exciting whites. And like we saw Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski joke about it. Like, yeah, he'll hire a GM. Dude, eventually he's going to be on a practice field. He's going to have a 5-star recruit walk up to him and go, hey, am I starting next season? Because if not, I'm going to hit the portal. Right. And what has Bill Belichick done since day one? Even when Tom Brady was the quarterback, everyone has to earn their spot at every position. I don't care if you have someone handling NIL and recruiting. You have to recruit and keep your own guys, high schoolers, guys on others' teams, and you are going to have players in this era of college football that want to get paid. It's going to be chaos. And this is just a power dynamic and a struggle between the AD and the boosters and the donors and other people around the university. Yeah. Who's going to pay Bill Belichick $20 million? And also, you're going to pay him. He will leave in a year if he gets an NFL offer. Sure, Steve steps in, but is that the guy you want leading UNC? He's been coaching in college for 1 year.
Right.
Aged whites.
Bro, you and these damn wine comps. It's fantastic. We have exciting
whites.
Man.
Exciting whites, Kristaps, Payne Pritchard, Baylor Shireman.
You are a comedic genius. I got to tell you.
Old whites.
It's
And I got to say it, Trav. I do got to say it.
Say it.
Does UNC have a good cheerleading program? Because I'm wondering if there's a guarantee within the guarantee. Right. Hey, my son's a future head coach. And by the way, my girlfriend's a head coach of the cheerleading program. I'm wondering.
George is on one.
It's just wild.
I love it, man. I love it.
Belichick to UNC.
It's just your world, man. I enjoy living in it, George. I got to tell you, you are a primetime player.
Apparently, it's Bill's world, and we're all living in it, too.
Facts.
He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This is Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. Enjoy the rest of the bye week. Patriots will be back in Arizona next week. But as always, Keegan Stiefel, Draft Talk on Wednesday. Yep. Michael Lombardi and Patriots Talk. Can't wait to ask him about this on Friday. Have a good one, everyone.